yeah, this movie kind of messed me up a little bit. Not even gonna lie. So this is my late review to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. There's going to be some spoilers in this because I'm late, and I'm pretty sure that pretty much almost everybody who's going to watch this video has already seen the movie. If you have not, then I recommend skipping to the end of the video where I give my final grade on the movie. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video because there's a lot I want to talk about with this movie. And this movie absolutely broke my heart when I watched it. Hey guys, I just want to say that in this review, I actually was so emotional from the movie that I actually had to reshoot a lot of the review to give more clear thoughts because I was kind of all over the place. You notice the lighting changing every now and then in the video. This is a reshoot. Let's talk about my experience in the theater when I watched this movie. I watched this movie and I thought to myself, okay, another Marvel movie. You know, I wasn't expecting too much. I was expecting it to be a solid James Gunn Marvel movie. You know, because the MCU has really not been hitting that much recently. This movie hit me hard. And it hurt.
Forever. In a beautiful sky.
So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 takes place way after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where basically Rocket Raccoon is put into a situation where he has to face his past to move on to the future, and the Guardians basically have to save their friend from sudden death. Which, at the beginning of the movie, I was not expecting Adam Warlock to come in and just take on the Guardians.
On the ground!
The way he did. And he messed him up pretty bad and put Rocket Raccoon in critical condition, which is essentially what the plot of the rest of the movie is, to the point where they have to save Rocket using the technology from the High Evolutionary, the people that created Rocket and made him into what he is. I think if there's a couple problems that I have with the movie now I kind of think about it, Adam Warlock was very underutilized in the movie. With a character as hyped up as he was in Guardians Volume 2, they really didn't have much payoff for him in Volume 3. As such, his fight scenes were visually pleasing and his flying sequences visually looked cool, but his overall character really didn't serve really any purpose to the story other than saving Quill at the end of the movie when he gets trapped in outer space. Which is also something that kind of threw me off about this movie too, is the fact that none of the Guardians ended up dying in the movie at all. Which, I'm glad, I love these characters, but I honestly thought with the way the story was going, we were going to have some loss in the movie. So the beginning of the movie, I already knew it was going to be kind of deep when they had that cage full of raccoons and you see the hand reaching in. That imagery let me know right there, ah shoot, this is going to tug at my heartstrings, isn't it?
He didn't want to make things perfect. He just hated things the way they are.
And for anybody who's an animal lover out there, I feel really bad for you because this movie really has tons and tons of animal cruelty in this movie, and it is not cool. Yeah, Adam Warlock, he was a lot more comedic than I was expecting. They had some really good running jokes with him, with the fact that he's kind of following his mother's instructions, and he's kind of a goof, which I can see why a lot of Adam Warlock fans would not like this iteration of the character. But for the overall story that they're telling here with Rocket Raccoon's character in High Evolutionary, I think that maybe Adam Warlock probably should be in the background. And at the end of the movie, he does officially become a Guardian, so they more set him up to be a Guardian more than him being a legitimate threat in this movie. One thing I loved about this movie in particular is the fact that they showed how far the Guardians have come. This really does feel like the end to a trilogy and moving on to a new era of Guardians, where you see all these relationships that happen, excluding Gamora. But even Gamora starts coming around at a certain point when she sees just how much of a family these people are. James Gunn is clearly A+ in his caliber of filmmaking. I don't think any of the Guardians movies have been really bad at all. Also, don't think that this one is a rewatchable Marvel movie either, considering there are some darker elements to this movie, and there are a lot of shocking elements in this movie that I don't feel like can be rewatched over and over again. Will was amazing, although I wish there was a storyline that they explored a bit more with him, and because at the beginning of the movie they were like, oh, he's drunk again, implying that he's been drunk multiple times, but they never fully explored that in the movie. However, the pain that he had for losing Gamora and the fact they had to learn to move on was a great story arc for the character, and I do feel like the ending that they had with him and his grandpa at the end was a great ending, and it was a good way to get Peter to connect more with his humanity. Drax is Drax, not much to say about him. Great character moments from him, lots of good jokes with him. Drax is always going to be Drax.
And they'll kill anyone who gets in our way.
No, not kill anyone.
Kill a few people.
Kill no people.
Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Now you're just making it sad.
The characters like Cosmo and all these other characters, just great characters all together. The Guardians cast is always a delight to watch. Again, this is not a point by point. This is more of kind of exploring the different characters and kind of talk about some plot points that I want to discuss in this movie. But the heart of this movie is clearly Rocket Raccoon. This was what broke me, because we do get to see Rocket's backstory, and it is one of the hardest things I've ever had to watch in the MCU.
Someday, I'm gonna make great machines that fly. And me and my friends are gonna go flying together into the forever and beautiful sky. Lila, and Teefs, and Floor, and me. Rocket.
Period. And also kind of graphic and dark at the same time, which I'm surprised that this movie was PG-13, because there's a lot of graphic stuff that happens in this movie. The torture that Rocket had to go through before the past, the first scene that we saw of this part where they basically did all the experiments on him for the first time, he gets in the cage and he's just shaking Raccoon in the cage with all these messed up, like, really messed up animals. Like, I'm just really emotional right now. I can't think of the words. Amputated limbs, robot parts and stuff, all talking, kind of mixed up vocabulary, all messed up. And he's in the cage, and they're like, the otter walks up to the cage and is like, oh yeah, you know, you can talk if you want to, you know, don't be afraid. And she's trying to convince him to be okay. First words that came out of Rocket's mouth is, hurts. That hurt my heart so bad. And all the scenes that he had with the friends in this movie was so good. It was one of the most heartfelt moments I've seen in a Marvel movie, period.
When Sire moves us to the new world, we're gonna need names. I mean, 89Q12, it's not really a name. So, I would like my name to be Lila.
Lila.
Lila. That's a pretty name, Lila.
And they were from these creatures that you look at and you're kind of like, ooh. But that's kind of the heart to it, because they're a bunch of like messed up misfits, and they were all getting together, and they were individuals that were hurt, and they just all loved each other as friends, and it was good to see them all connecting. And James Gunn has always been good at handling misfits in movies, and he does a spectacular job at doing it again in this movie as well, which ultimately does lead to when Rocket's supposed to escape. He's supposed to bring his friends with him because he just discovered that the High Evolutionary isn't going to set them free in the newer world that they're trying to establish. He's going to kill them because they're like the misfits. When he tried to let them go and try to escape with them, the High Evolutionary kills all of Rocket's friends. And that was one of the hardest scenes I've ever had to watch in a Marvel movie, ever. This, like, almost broke me. Like, I didn't cry in the movie until I got back home. That's how emotional this movie was. The actor, I hated his villain so much. Even with the way Rocket's friends died in the movie, you guys saw how much that messed me up. He started mocking Rocket, and that pissed me off. And then when Rocket started clawing his face and tore his face off, I was like, that was such a pleasing moment to me. I know I'm not supposed to like praise violence, but like, it felt kind of good. Seeing that gave so much more context to Rocket's character at the beginning of the series of why he was such a jerk, was because he was trying so hard not to get that same connection he had before, trying so hard to show people that he's bigger and badder than what he is, because maybe a little bit of kindness will probably remind him of the past and how soft he really is. And what a douche, man. I freaking hate the High Evolutionary. One of the worst Marvel villains, worst written Marvel villains, but so good at being a villain that I hated this dude. I hated him. Hated him so much. Like, and the movie was so good at doing that. I mean, he's slaughtering, he's like not, he's experimenting on animals, messing them up just to do it. Like, it's so twisted, but that's what made him a great villain, was because he was a villain that you can't get behind. High Evolutionary is such a good villain to the point where I just hated him. The whole audience is going to hate him. Like, he tortures these animals, he does the stuff to them, and he basically disregards them like they're trash. He talks like everybody's beneath him. He thinks he's the top dog above everything. Like, this felt like what Kang should have been in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And the fact that he wiped out an entire species of his own creation within the matter of minutes, he just, like, after realizing his experiment failed, he was like, all right, well, wipe out this world. And he just blew it up immediately. It wasn't like some countdown where it was like, you know, you have 30 minutes to save this planet. No, he blew up an entire civilization that he created just to start over again. Like, this dude is one heck of a villain. And all in all, one thing that I can sum this movie up as is James Gunn's really emotional send-off from these Guardians. This really did feel like the conclusion to a trilogy, and it hit hard. Now, the second Guardians is my favorite Guardians movie still, but I'm putting this one in second place. Like, this was really, really good. And it's probably the best Marvel movie outside of Spider-Man No Way Home since Endgame, in my opinion.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
It's not as rewatchable as some of the Marvel movies. I'm going to keep it honest with you guys. It's really not as rewatchable. That's because of some of those moments I was talking about. It's so hard to watch that I can't rewatch it over and over again. Like I said, I don't think it's as good as the second one because I do think it has some tonal shifts that feel like where this come from. Like the parts with Rocket and his friends, just the really sad emotional parts, but then it jumps into the scenes in the present where it's like comedic and stuff. I didn't feel like that blended well immediately, especially after Rocket's friends dying and stuff like that. That hurt so bad to the point where when they tried to tell jokes after like a good 10 minutes, I couldn't laugh at any of them. I felt things in this movie that I haven't felt in a long time, and it hurt. It really did hurt watching this movie. James Gunn, congrats. Made finally a good Marvel movie since Endgame. Finally one that I'm willing to recommend to people. With that being said, I'm gonna go cry in a corner for a good hour. If you guys liked the video, make sure to subscribe today to join the civilization.